It's an age. Who thinks it's a financial number? Okay. And listen, we're going to go through all of that in our retirement. You think 40 is old?
No.
Hey, not to the adults. I'm talking to the young adults. Is 40 old? No, right? I like y'all. I like y'all a lot. And other classes be like, yeah, Mr. 40 is old. Like, all right, you fail. So, insurance. We're going to talk about that. Debt. You know that there's a lot of 4-letter words in the English language that are like considered bad words. Don't say them out loud, but I know you're thinking about them in your head right now. You're like, oh, that's one, that's two. So there's a lot of 4-letter words in the English language that you can't say, right? You don't be saying none of those words, right? Good job. Debt should kind of be one of them, right? So anytime you hear that word debt, you should cringe, like, oh my gosh, this person just said something bad to me, right? And we're going to talk about why. Financial traps to avoid, because obviously if you start making money, you don't want to start giving back your money, right? So there's things that you need to avoid once you start building wealth. And lastly, then we'll wrap up with our post quiz or post assessment, and then you guys will have a beautiful ceremony, and life will be great, right? All right. So the way that this normally works, we have our class for say 45 minutes. And then Warren will bring in the food. You guys eat for 15 minutes, and then we'll do the second portion of the class, right? Sounds good?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So, 15 minutes. So if you can turn to page, does anyone know what page is?
Page 5.
Yes, see? Page 5. Take 15 minutes. It's 5:48, so say around like 6:04, 6:05, and just do your pre-assessment. Anything else you're saying? Thank you. This is where my is. We tried, but they COVID hit, and they were checking COVID. Stop.
Yeah.
Not like you said.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why I was playing.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool, I guess, huh?
Oh, sweet.
I know some of them, I'm just, but that's okay, I don't know how you, but just guessing he's gonna tell you, right? Just guess, even if you don't know, just kind of, yeah. Did you know all the words meant? Do you guys know each other at all? Anybody look familiar in here? You're all in different places. Good. Oh, you know them? Well, was it say, yeah.
In.
How old, like, so how old are you? 13. You're 13? So are you all in the same grade or are you different grades?
Good.
We're not all in the same grade. Not different grades. Oh, nice. Some of those are hard. Some of those questions are like they wouldn't know. But they'll tell us. Yeah, right? Not You're right, that's what it is.
That's how you learn.
Yeah, that's how you learn.
Finish.
Is it rain?
So glad you got time. After everyone's done, you guys could take a bathroom break, or if you're done now, you can take a bathroom break if you need to, and then you guys can then start eating. Oh. You do not stand up next to me. Yeah, yeah. Freshman or middle school. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I honestly think you were in 8th grade. I know.
Yeah, actually.
Were we in here or we were at other location? Oh, freshman. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a JBIS
Your boy
program.
Alfred.
Services. I know, that's a lot of initials.
You didn't come with us when we went to yeah, okay. So, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. No, they control and I love them, but you did.
So I'm happy to talk about that. Yeah, but you have fun though.
Just to get everyone.
Exactly. Right. I don't even remember. But you know what the thing is it's not the fact that you remember the museum, it's the fact that you remember going to Maryland You know, chilling with your boys, yeah, overnight, you know, going to, because we went to the Ripley, believe it or not, and all that. And, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I went there too. All right. How long ago did you go? Me and my wife, we went for our anniversary a few years ago. We felt so bad because it's like we could have brought the kids, you know, because we stayed in a hotel with us, indoor, like swimming pool, and the beach was right there, and it's like, oh, okay. Food was good too. All right, so we good? Everyone done? All right, cool. All right, so let me go find out when because normally they distribute the food.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will, I can start handing it out if you want.
Okay.
That works. Because
Yeah, normally, let me.
yeah, you
Normally
can see
he
how
has
they
the same-
could probably do it. I can open the boxes. Yum, pizza, everybody loves pizza, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Is this a good place, Castle Pizza? Have you guys ever had Castle Pizza? Yeah, so one of your favorites?
No.
It's not a favorite? Oh, so there's pepperoni, cheese. Pepperoni. Cheese. There, so who's good at math? We should see how many pieces and how many per person, per student. So there's 13 of you, is that what you said? 13? And there's 1, 2, 3. Who wants to come help me count? What, you don't? You just want the soda?
Yes.
And they just get in line?
Yeah, listen, you guys, this is pizza.
Yeah.
Find it. Like, do your hands and
Yeah.
So there's sanitizer there, there's plates,
yeah, you
there's
guys are
cups.
just welcome. I know it's the first day, but really, everything in here is free. Just do what you
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Eat.
I don't want to make any decisions, so somebody be a captain in here and just.
So I think they can each have like 3 or 4 slices. I'm just trying to do the math, but I think they can each have like 4.
My sister says she's gonna buy 2 pizzas. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy it. Eat whatever you want.
I don't want to overdo it, you know. Go. Oops. I just like it. I like donating hand sanitizer.
Oh,
That's what I do. Donation. Y'all go get
She
some.
might need some more.
Oh. That sounds like a Yatu issue. I like it. We should have like some eating music. I'm gonna be. You got you. You can't prepare. Bro, want something to drink at least? Want something to drink? Oh, you got one. All right, who wants Sprite? All right, cool. It's Sprite, it's Coke, and it's Orange Crush. Did you want Sprite? You got water? Did you want Sprite? Nope. Did you want milk? Oh, you good. Sprite? Anything? Sprite. Anyone want Coke? 2. I mean, you guys can. If you listen, there's a lot of pizzas, so our goal is to not have any pizza with the name. I should have been off for affirmation time. Eat all the food.
Anybody feel talkative? Anybody want to talk to me? Come on. Just talk to me about anything. Sports is like,
Coke?
anything you like. I know mouthful of pizza. Absolutely. But I'd love to hear what you think about what I was thinking.
Coke? Coke? Did you want orange? You didn't want anything in there? Oh. I think it's water, but I don't know what it is. You didn't want any pizza? You want something? You want something more? You didn't get any? What did you want? Shoot, I didn't. My bad.
So, your principal may have possible. I don't know if you're fellow students, is it? Oh, no, that's awesome. Well, yeah. Sure, I get it exactly right.
So we got 10 minutes, so again, no rush. Eat up. If you gotta use the bathroom, use the bathroom. If you wanna get on the phone, you can get on the phone. This is your time. Decompress. In this form, specifically about attorneys,
Hey, have you had any summers and so on and so forth? Oh, you did? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good place. And have you been able to do any of the best thing? Have you ever thought about the best thing like that, or just doesn't seem like a job? So you're here for 10 weeks. And then after you trained, 10 weeks on Monday. So it's pretty, are you out of school now? That's not, that's not what I'm talking about. No, I thought you guys were going to go out soon. Oh, I see. Okay. Can you go look and we can go look at the thing? And you just go over correctly. That's a trick question. I remember asking. I'm sure you call. I thought that was so funny. But, oh no, it's right around the corner. Well, it's interesting. We got 5 minutes. Let me start. All right, so. Have you ever?
Anyone done with their stuff? Finish with yours.
I'll go back.
Finished? Yep. Okay, so package is over here. You guys need it. But again, pizza is here for you. Destroy it, please. Poor. Yours will come down now.
They're so quiet.
Yeah, they're eating.
So it was like the weeks go on, did they get noisier? This is just like the first day.
Well, normally, whenever it's just a break,
Yeah, it's quiet.
they're on their phone, checking their
Yeah.
they're eating.
Yeah.
This is their time,
Right.
in 1 minute.
Still not eating meat?
Actually, it's funny because every time we do a session with him, I
Yeah.
always want some type of like fast.
Oh, you're doing, okay.
But I'm good now. But I don't
Tells it right there. Tell it.
You don't eat meat?
I saw it.
Well, fortunately, I actually started to eat meat again.
Oh, well, sorry I stuffed you out there.
I mean, it's been like, I don't know, like almost 10 years that I haven't eaten like red meat. I don't eat pork at all, so that's just never come back. But I did incorporate a little bit of red meat back in my diet. Doctor said it's good.
Okay.
They made me lying.
I know you worked out. That's good.
Yeah, I did 3 miles this morning. My shins hurt. All right, so we're about to get back into it. So if you guys can kindly put your phones away, you can still continue to eat. Don't worry, not rushing you. And if you want more food, you can just get up and grab it. All right, so what we're going to discuss today are what is personal finance, the history of wealth in the African American and minority community, how long does the dollar last in the African American community, the definition of wealth, what does wealth mean to you, and the difference between being rich and wealthy. So what is personal finance? I mean, I kind of went out. So personal finance is the management of money on a day-to-day basis. Let me ask you a question. How many of you guys want to be entrepreneurs when you grow up? To own your own business? All right. If you are an entrepreneur right now, the way you handle money right now, would your business be successful or would it tank? It would tank, right? That's what personal finance is, right? You're your own business. You're your own sole proprietorship. You're your own partnership. You're your own LLC. You're your own S corp. You're your own C corp, right? You're your own business, right? Because whenever you get money, you have to handle that money in a way that is beneficial for you, right? In order to make you grow, right? Because if you want to have a business, you want to have a successful business, right? You don't want a business that's going to fail, right? Raise your hand if you like failure. Boy. Okay. So no one likes failure. Good. I'm glad. All right. So personal finance is how you manage money that you have on a day-to-day basis. It is also the decisions that you make with money. Do you know that you have to make decisions with your money? Right? Do you know what opportunity cost is? Have you ever heard that? So that you can work, right? But if you stayed home and never went to school, what happened? It's highly likely that you won't get a job that's going to pay you what you're worth, correct? So the opportunity cost of you getting up to going to school and not staying at home is the fact that you can get an education and you can make, informed decisions and have a career that can make you a lot of money, right? Or what if you had what if I gave you $1,000 right now, right? And I say, okay, here's your two options. You could invest this $1,000 in the stock market, or you can go and spend it. What's the opportunity cost there?
More money later.
You'll have more money later, right? Compared to what?
So few days worth of money.
Of like pleasure, right? Of what you purchased, correct. So that is the decisions you make with money. You have to understand what your opportunity cost. What are you giving up in order to get what you're doing now, right? You're gonna, if you take any business classes, opportunity cost is gonna be something that you're gonna learn a lot, right? All right. And again, I apologize, I didn't bring my clicker, because this is supposed to go loud. All right, so areas of personal finance are creating a budget. We have orange, right? What does orange mean? Oh yeah, so for you who just came, so anytime you see orange on here, that you have to write it down in a book that corresponds to that. So we are on page 8. So page 8 at the top, the first thing you're gonna write is creating a budget. So areas of personal finance are creating a budget, personal investing, retirement, savings, banking, and more, right? And we're going to learn about all these topics, right? And believe me, it's not going to be boring because spending money is fun, right? We can attest to that. Like, do you believe that spending money is fun? Like, you have a good time spending money, right? Why? Why not?
After, when I get the things, yeah.
Well, yeah, correct. So,
In the moment, no.
yeah, okay, yes, you are absolutely right. Whenever you spend money in the moment, they did a study and it showed that human beings felt pain whenever they took out dollars, like whenever they spent cash, right? But their brains never registered any type of feeling whenever they had a debit card or a credit card. And they swipe. Because you don't see the money that you're losing, right? When you have a debit card or a credit card. You just swipe, you swipe, you swipe. You don't see the money until like a month later, or you check your account or whatever the statement comes in or the bill comes in. But if you have $200 and that's your last $200 for the month, and you spend that $200 in the month, it's still like 14 days left, you're gonna feel some type of way. You're like, man, I just spent this money. So it registers to your brain as this is painful. Like you just lost someone, right? Yeah, so so we're gonna talk about all of this. All right, so history of wealth. So we're gonna kind of go in a little different direction, right? So wealth in America, especially in the minority communities, when it comes to Black Americans, right? 400 years ago, around roughly 400, 500 years ago, what was happening in the United States? Slavery, right? Were slaves able to read?
No,
Were they able to get an education?
no,
Were they able to get a, so if you work, what do you get from working? Money. Were they able to get money?
no,
Were they able to invest?
no.
All right. So there's a lot of things that were happening in that community. And it's, do you know that there were more than just African Americans that were in slavery, right?
Yes.
You know, does anyone know what an indentured servant is?
When you're enslaved because you owe someone too much money.
A debt, correct?
Too much that you can't pay off.
Correct. So there was a lot of Irish people that came and they were indentured servants. They would pay off, you know, whatever amount of money it took to get them there, right? And sometimes it was just like a lot, and they would work for a really long time, right? And again, at least that, but you know, it still was slavery. So through all this time, do you think that that impacted the minority community,
Yes,
and why?
because they were pulled back from something that they could have invested in, and they would have to start from absolute zero.
Absolute zero. Do we agree? Who's making this all that the profits during this time?
The slave owner.
The slave owners. Correct. Right? So you hit all the points, right? So again, in around that time in the African American community, it was hard to build wealth, right? Because you couldn't. It was illegal, right?
I was going to say something we exchanged for labor. Or,
Goods and services, right?
Yes, goods and services.
Right? And so, but it's objects, right?
Yes.
Like money, like gold, like silver. Right now, you have bitcoins or cryptocurrency, right? Those are all versions of currency. Do you know that African Americans were considered currency back then?
Yeah. Yes.
Which is crazy, right? A human being considered as currency, right? So a lot was going on back then, right? So the reason why I bring this up is because, like we said, no financial knowledge, no land ownership. Do you know what the single biggest asset that the average person can own is their house, land, their property, land, house, right? So if you own land, if your grandfather owned land, right, and a house, and he then willed it to your parents, right? Now your parents is living in that house. That house is paid off, right? So now that house is considered an asset. Have we ever heard that word before, asset?
Yes.
What is an asset?
It's a beneficiary item, right?
What can assets do for you?
Generate you wealth.
Exactly. That's it. Assets generate you wealth. A house is an asset, right?
Yes.
Because you can sell it and make more money than what you purchased it for, right? In a good economy, right? Because there's been some economies that houses went backwards. But financial knowledge, land ownership, and compound interest. Has anyone ever heard of compound interest? All right, I bet you heard of it, but it was in this form. Have any of you, by show of hands, have ever heard of that? What would you rather? $1 million right now, or a penny a day doubled every day for a month? You guys have heard that, right? So you've heard that's compound interest.
Yeah.
And which one would you choose? The $1 million today, or the penny a day doubled for a month? The penny a day doubled for a month, because at the end of it, what is like 5 mil? All right, that's compound interest, right? And we're going to learn about compound interest. If there's nothing that you learn from this class, you need to take away what compound interest is, because it can make you a lot of money. And the reason why I asked you if 40 is old, because it's not old, number one, and you guys passed. But you can do, I mean, you're still young at 40, right? And if you could retire at 40 with millions and millions of dollars, like, you can live the life you want, right? So, the three wealth building assets. Land is number one. Land is one of the greatest wealth building tools the average person can own. So who's our last president before Biden?